Welcome back. We cross now live to President Ramaphosa, who's receiving letters of credence from ambassadors and heads of mission from, amongst others, Ukraine, Japan, Botswana, Greece, Iraq and Nigeria. Let's go to Pretoria.
This is no small responsibility, and I'd like to congratulate all of you on the opportunity that your country has given to you. I'm honored to receive your respective letters of credence. Gathered here today are representatives of several countries with whom we have firm historical ties. Each one of your countries is very important in the life of our country, South Africa, because in many ways you are countries that stood with the people of South Africa as we confronted the tyranny of apartheid. We will forever be grateful for your support and friendship, because all of your countries and your peoples contributed to where we are in one and many ways. Also represented here are countries with whom we have strong trade and investment ties, and to whom we are bound by a common desire to improve the lives of our people through economic development. It is our sincere wish that through your respective appointments that we will strengthen existing ties and forge new opportunities for cooperation. We are meeting here today, a week after our country's 6th democratic election, and I'd like to thank you, each one of you, for expressing the good wishes that each one of you has articulated and the congratulatory messages that we've not only received from yourselves but in a number of your countries from your heads of state. We really are truly grateful. We were humbled by the millions of South Africans who, through their hard-won right, went to the polls to choose the government of their choice. This election has been declared by our Independent Electoral Commission, as well as by international observers from the Southern African Development Commission, as well as the AU, as considerably free and fair with credible outcomes. The election has demonstrated the stability and the vibrancy of our democracy and the continued engagement of the South African people in the important decisions that affect their lives. This election holds a special significance because it has taken place in the year in which we are celebrating, as many of you will recall, 25 years of our freedom and democracy in South Africa. It has been a quarter of a century since the 27th of April in 1994, when all South Africans of voting age, of all races and backgrounds, voted for a democratic dispensation for the very first time in the history of this country. This marked the end of decades of apartheid and oppression, heralding a non-racial, equal, united society with a constitution as well as a Bill of Rights. It ushered in a new era of hope for the people of South Africa. It restored our human dignity and united our citizens behind a vision of non-racialism, non-sexism, championed by the father of our nation, Nelson Mandela. This event also marked the end of South Africa's international isolation and saw our country returning as a full member of the community of nations. Prior to that, this country was the pariah, seen as that by many nations around the world. South Africa has a long history of friendly relations with other countries, We pursue the strengthening of bilateral and multilateral relations with states and organizations as we seek to make the world a better place to live in for all its people. We stand shoulder to shoulder with many countries in various international alliances and associations. These are platforms through which we pursue global peace and prosperity, social justice, human rights, and an environmentally sustainable world. Of great concern to all of us is that we are beginning to witness the effects of climate change and global warming. We are still picking up the pieces of the devastating floods that ravaged our sister countries in our region of SADC, Mozambique, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and here in our coastal provinces of the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. You formally take up your posts just as South Africa is entering its sixth democratic administration. This is an administration that will be firmly committed to placing the country on the path of renewal, growth, and transformation. We want to grow our economy and reduce the poverty that still persists in our country. We want to create job opportunities for our people, particularly young people in South Africa, many of whom are skilled but unemployed. We are working to achieve this through the creation and strengthening of strategic partnerships. One of the areas where we have placed great emphasis is the strengthening of investment ties with countries around the world. Last year, we launched an ambitious investment drive that seeks to raise $100 billion in the next 5 years of new investment in our country. Many companies from many different countries have made firm commitments to invest in our countries, in our economy rather. And we are particularly pleased that some of those companies have come from countries that you represent here. We are working hard to improve our investment environment and ensure that our exports are much more competitive. We look forward to working with each of you as you represent your countries to strengthen ties of investment and trade. We want to be your partners, and we see your presence here as a presence that is going to enhance and strengthen the relationship between South Africa and the countries that you represent. We want to work with you as well on regional and global platforms on issues of common interest. As you know, South Africa sits on the UN Security Council as a non-permanent member, and we are seeking to execute a task that comes down from what Nelson Mandela stood for, to foster peace and the prosperity of peoples around the world. For we are committed to ensuring that there is a world that respects human rights and a world that is at peace with itself. We hope you have a very productive and fruitful and enriching and enjoyable time in South Africa. And we say take time to see our beautiful country. And of course we know, whilst we claim that South Africa is the most beautiful country in the whole world, yours is also equally the most beautiful in the whole world. So the countries you represent are the most beautiful, and you are now in the very most beautiful country in the world. So take time to know our country, to go and see the sights that our country has. South Africans will be spreading their arms wide open, welcoming you at any given moment. And we wish you the very best as you represent your country. And we hope that one day I will be able to visit your most beautiful countries as well. The combination of South Africa as being the most beautiful country in the world and the countries you represent as being the most beautiful makes a wonderful combination of the most beautiful world that we have. So thank you very much. Welcome to South Africa.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Indeed, we have a beautiful country. I will now would like to invite His Excellency with the heads of missions.
And we're going to leave Pretoria now. That's the President receiving letters of credence from our newest diplomatic corps that's arrived in South Africa, and a number of countries represented there, including Botswana. And the President welcoming them and saying that he looks forward to working with their nations, particularly in the world that we're living in today. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll return with your headlines.